made a video on the main channel talking about which Raptors player has been the most disappointing on the team so far this season. If you didn't catch the video, spoiler alert, none of them. Because honestly, so many Raptors players have performed so well this season. I can't put one player as the most disappointing. I don't really think any player has been really disappointing necessarily. Maybe if I nitpick, I can find some, but really no player's been disappointed. But how many of these players have truly exceeded expectations? How many have just met expectations? Well, a popular segment I like to do, popular in my eyes at least, go through the entire roster and rank each player based on my assessment of how they've looked so far this season. So let's jump into it. Let's do this. So I've got all 18 players in the Raptors roster, the 15 regular roster players, plus the 3 two-way guys. There's the well above expectations tier, the above expectations tier, the met expectations, below expectations, well below expectations, and the injured tier, the guys I cannot rank because they've been too injured. So let's start with Jamison Battle here. Definitely knew this guy could shoot. Didn't think, honestly, he'd be able to kind of hold his spot down as much as this. So I'm going to go above expectations. We obviously knew he could shoot. But, like in 7 to 10 minute spots a game, he has been decent for this team. So I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't really expecting any sort of role whatsoever for the Raptors in the NBA. I think he could do with some time with the 905, but for now, the floor spacing is necessary to have, and he's doing a decent job of that. I just realized the sub thing is up here. Delete that. Next up, Jacoby Walter. Pretty simple. He's been too injured. He's played in very limited amount of games where, honestly, he'd be here based on those games. It'd be unfair to rank him based on the very small amount of games that he has played. We saw with Grady Dick last season. It took him a while to get up to speed, spend some time in the G League where he also struggled. Then once he got to speed, got his range, he was fine. Jacoby Walter's been too injured to really give any sort of opinion on, I think, for the purposes of a video like this or a stream like this. Next up, Garrett Temple. He barely plays. Kind of hard to rank him. When he does, when he does play, he has been quite good, but it's not like this guy's getting game time on a day-to-day basis. Darko's picking and choosing the spots, and sometimes it's just a garbage time. Not an exciting start here, but not a lot I can say about him. Jamal Shed here. For a guy who's drafted 45th overall, I thought there'd be more time in the G League necessary for him, but his defense is NBA caliber for sure. And he's not as much, he's not getting a ton of play time, but he's not, what's the best way to describe his offense? I thought he'd have, nothing on offense. I thought he wouldn't be able to do anything really on offense, and I thought that'd be a problem. He's still affecting the game well. He attacks the rim decently. He's inefficient. His jump shooting is super inefficient, but he can attack the rim a little bit, create for teammates a little bit. That is a little bit better than I thought it'd be, but the defense being already NBA caliber is nice. He's been above expectations. Definitely not well above, but he has been above expectations. For Emmanuel Quickley, I'll probably put him in the injured tier as well. There has been some games where he's been fine. If I had to rank him, I'd put him here. I think he's been too injured for me to really give a definitive statement on the way he's been playing this season, so I'll put him down at the bottom there. But an important thing to discuss, I think, with Emmanuel Quickley when he does get back from injury. Wow, RJ Barrett as an initiator right now has been fantastic. And I would very much still like to see RJ Barrett in that initiation role when Emmanuel Quickley returns from injury. I think that gives you a little bit more of Quickley off ball, more of that New York role, which he was successful at. I think it makes sense to give RJ Barrett a little bit more of those touches compared to last season, what we saw when Quickley and Barrett were both playing. Next up's Jakob Poeltl here. Mr. Consistent, you always know what you're going to get until this season. He's giving you more this season. I'm not going to let this last week kind of get me to put him up here, but he's been above expectations. I'm really impressed how he's been able to scale up his production and not sacrifice his efficiency, really. That's been amazing. The Raptors, amidst the injuries, have started to play through him a lot more. They ran a lot of pick and rolls with him and Barrett, and it was extremely impressive. Really enjoyable to watch Jakob Poeltl right now. Really showcasing to the fans why it's important to have a player like him here. He's been stellar on defense as well. Next up's Kelly Olynyk. We all know where he's going to go. He hasn't played yet this season, so easy to put him in the injured tier. Jonathan Mobo, 31st overall pick. I thought he really wouldn't be able to affect the game on offense, but he's been good. Again, he has no jump shot. Didn't know how he would be able to affect the game, but his energy, his ability to score inside, his athleticism, it's making him usable in those areas in offense. And on defense, a good switchable kind of big, I don't know if we'll call him a center, but a power forward, a switchable defender, kind of what the Raptors have wanted to work with in recent years. And Mobo being ever present in the rotation right now is something I was not necessarily expecting. So he's definitely gone above expectations. Now we have two of the players I probably have the most negative sentiment towards on this team so far this season. And that's honestly not saying much because there's not a lot of negative sentiment about the individuals on this team. But Davion Mitchell, I will put him below expectations because I always thought the world of him as a defender. He's showcasing that. His playmaking has been good, but man, like he's just got to be able to knock down some shots. He's got to be able to give us a little bit of offense at the very least. I know the assists are there. I know the plus minus is there. I know that's been good, but like I'm going to pull up his efficiency numbers. Yeah, like 41% from the field, 28% from three. Can't be doing that. He's getting a big role right now. 29 minutes per game would be a career high. He's got to be above 30% on threes. He's got to be near 45% on twos, and it hasn't been that this season. That can obviously change. Not going to dispute that at all, but for the time being, that's a little bit of a point of frustration. He's been below expectations. For Bruno Fernando, I didn't really come into this season expecting much. I honestly didn't even think he'd be on the roster. So for that reason, like he started poorly. He had a good little run. That will probably balance it out. He was below, then above. That'll probably balance out in the middle here where we have Bruno Fernando in the met expectations tier. Kind of crazy the turnaround he had. He had really bad to start the season. Got an opportunity to get himself back in the fold. Successfully did so. It'll be an interesting conversation around January when his guaranteed contract expires, or at least the guarantee is done and the Raptors can waive him for no cost. It'll be interesting to see from that point what the Raptors want to do. As of right now, I think they may want to keep him around a little bit. Also, looks like a nice kind of locker room guy off the bench. He's always hyped for his teammates, and that's refreshing to see as well. Next up's Grady Dick. I had high expectations for Grady Dick, but fucking goddamn, he's been spectacular. It's been a little bit lower production in the recent games, and maybe it'll drop when more of the star guys come back. But holy, Grady Dick vaulting himself into MIP conversations was not something I was expecting this season. His game is so much more refined, so much more polished. He's attacking the rim with a way more composure, way more confidence, and with way more success. That, along with the shooting that was already present for the player, great talent to have on this team. Grady Dick just turned 21 years old, man. That's incredible. He's a good player. Ulrich Shamshay up next. I thought he'd struggle, but even in the G League, he's a foul machine, but he's been a bit above expectations. I thought he'd be super raw, and he is, but he's not as raw as I was expecting of a prospect. He moves well for his size. He reads the game pretty well defensively and is not terrible on offense. That's definitely better than I was expecting him to be. Good stuff from Ulrich Shamshay. Next up, DJ Carton has been injured. I don't know. Honestly, would he be playing? Okay, I'm going to go with my gut. I'm going to say a little bit below expectations for Carton. I know he's like barely would get it running anyways, but I kind of thought he'd be challenging for a rotation spot when he's healthy. He isn't. So, below expectations. I'm looking forward to seeing him playing in the G League with the 905 this season. Bruce Brown's been injured. Chris Boucher, I thought he would be out of rotation. DJ Carden went below expectations for the reasons I described. Bruce Brown is injured. On to Chris Boucher, who has to be well above expectations here. Oh my goodness, Chris Boucher. I thought he'd be completely out of rotation, unusable this season, untradeable. Boucher just recognized at this point that he has to be the highest energy guy on a night-to-night basis. And he knows that, and he's doing that. His rebounding is massive. His three-point shooting this season has been extremely impressive. And his defense hasn't even been that bad. He's jumping a little bit less on pump fakes. He's a lot more reserved. Like 20 minutes a game in Chris Boucher, like a lot of those 20 minutes have been pivotal. Amazing stuff. I can't wait to look back on this list in like a month and be like, holy shit, what the fuck happened to Chris Boucher? But for now, yeah, it's well above expectations. RJ Barrett, I went into the season with high expectations. I'd say they've been mostly met. I was not expecting to jump from an assist standpoint. His defense is looking a bit better, but offensively, I had high expectations, and he's meeting them. He's been a bit inefficient for my taste, and I think if he's a bit more efficient, I'd be like, wow, even still, he's above expectations. But for the time being, met expectations. I think it's a fine place to put RJ Barrett. For Scotty Barnes, another player I really think the world of. He's met expectations. He's missed quite a few games here, but he's doing his thing. He's been fine. Nothing spectacular, but it's been the Scotty Barnes you would want to see on a day-to-day basis. I think that's safe to say. Final player to go through, Ochai Agbaji, and where else could you put him here? Here was a guy who struggled in summer league, struggled in preseason a little bit, and all of a sudden he's starting in games. He's a main rotation guy. He's been extraordinarily efficient. Like he's comfortably above 50% from three, or from the field, comfortably above 40% from three. Here's a guy that almost fell out of rotation, now a mainstay in it, and he's been starting games and doing so successfully. A nice player to have. He always had the defense, but if he can continue to bring the offense like this, what a player. And that's where we'll leave off the list here. What do you guys think of a list like this? Where would you put guys? Would anybody be well below for you guys? Because nobody's well below for me.